Welcome to our St. Aidan studio. We are pleased today to have Ashley Hall share with us. Ashley is a longtime member of St. Aidan's. She is one of our music worship leaders, and now she's a member of Vestry. This is Real Lives. These services are just an opportunity for us as the people of God to share about our relationship with God. That can be in the form of a personal testimony, personal story, or perhaps about a ministry or initiative the Lord has led us to, or perhaps just something about our daily walk with God, really telling people how our story is fitting within God's story.
Inhale, my flesh contains the divine. Exhale, I will be tender and gentle with it. I often assume that so many of you know me because of the simple fact that I have grown up here at St. Aidan's, both literally, spiritually, emotionally, etc. My parents came to St. Aidan's when I was 3 years old, and for me, the snacks in Sunday school was what closed the deal. Through my years of growing up, I've actually attended many different churches, but quite honestly, nothing in my experiences compares to both the community and the atmosphere that is here at St. Aidan's, which is why I've always come back here. Through my 22 years, I have seen this church walk through many transitions, and in return, it has also seen me walk through many transitions. Some I'm not proud of, but it is what it is. My growing up has been marked with consistency. I've grown up in the same house, living on the same street with the same 3 other people. I attended the same Christian school for 13 years and continued to explore Christian education as I went to YWAM, following high school, spending time in both Hawaii and Nepal, and then continuing on to do 1 year of additional Christian education at Canadian Mennonite University here in Winnipeg. And all of these were taught using very similar narratives of faith. CMU was the last year I spent in Christian education, and following that I transferred to University of Winnipeg to complete my degree. That shift for me marked something very significant, and the introduction of a different narrative, something that I'm extremely grateful for and will be circling back to. Inhale, I'm not who I was. Exhale, God has always known me. In the past year, a lot has changed for me, as I think that all of us can say. In spring of 2020, at the early emergence of the pandemic, before that was even in our lexicon, I rekindled a friendship with an ex-boyfriend. Everything the memes on social media told me not to do, but we have now been together ever since. And this past Christmas, we adopted a wonderful, mischievous little kitten. Within 18 hours of me bringing up the idea. And let me tell you, that is either the mark of true love or my above average negotiation skills. His name is Alivio, which is Spanish for relief. Following that, in summer of 2020, I graduated with my Bachelor of Business Administration, specializing in human resources and organizational behavior, and the equivalent of a Bachelor of Arts in conflict resolution. If you ever need a good vocal exercise, just try saying that sentence 5 times fast. About 3 weeks ago, almost to this day or this weekend, I wrote my LSAT, which is the entrance exam to law school. And my goal in the next coming years is to attend law school, because apparently I love being a student that much. In my utopian career world, I would end up working in corporate alternative dispute resolution, and this could encompass litigation, arbitration, mediation, etc., both in court and out of court, something that I am very drawn to naturally. Currently, for employment, I work at Canada's Royal Winnipeg Ballet with their professional division in our dormitory, and we house 40 students ages 12 to 18 as they complete a 7-level dance program and their middle school or high school education. These kids are from all around the world, most of them simply living outside of Manitoba. And it is never a dull moment playing the role of parent, friend, confidant, disciplinarian to 40 kids. As of today, as I'm recording this, I also work at St. Amant as a community support worker. So I've been placed in a home where my educational pedigree in nonviolent conflict or nonviolent crisis intervention, mediation, coaching, and conflict resolution will be used heavily. And I think I can be super honest when I say that the pandemic this past year has left an indelible mark on all of us. And while there are so many wonderful things that have surfaced and are worth celebrating, there's also been a languishing and grief in many prominent events that we've witnessed as a society, as well as a loss of our own personal routines and norms. Inhale. God, you know the ache. Exhale. This sorrow does not make us unholy. I am a creature of habit. I love my routine, and I think as humans in general, our whole lives predicate on routine. But when that becomes redundant, what happens? When you can't tell your Thursdays from your Saturdays? These are questions I've been asking throughout this year, specifically in relation to my faith, both how I live it and how I view it. When Sundays aren't marked by church gatherings, major milestones in the church aren't celebrated in large groups, and everything that's helped shape your perspective lays down their agenda to protect their community, what happens to me? I felt like an Israelite this year, and I'm sure that's what so many of us can find solace in as I've lived feeling abandoned, alone, dusty, unsure of how long this reality will last, and unsure of what good my gifts will do. Selfishly, I'm a little bit jealous that the Israelites got to wander with their community as I felt like I had to give mine up. Feeling like an Israelite was lonely, but it led to the beginning of deconstruction and questioning my faith without feeling like I had to hide it from my community. Not having to show up allowed me to wander. But in that absence, I fought no battles, I led no wars, I simply existed. I asked a lot of questions that seemed impossible and not invited to the neatly outfitted Sundays I had perceived throughout my whole upbringing. A script I came to realize I viewed as a cookie cutter. I didn't feel like I fit in with my doubt. Something that doesn't represent the truth of St. Aidan's, but rather the institution of the church in general, the one that had been presented to me through all my years of rigorous religious education. And instead of joining the fight to push into this, I surrendered. I sat in the dirt, and to be honest, I didn't feel some days like I had the energy to even try. Inhale. I can approach the scars of God like Thomas. Exhale, and know that I am not alone. Based briefly on Exodus 14, the lyrics of Defender, popularized by Hillsong, represent me. I see myself sitting exhausted in a circle of chaos, witnessing a figure I feel is a stranger to me, fight for me. And the lyrics go, you know before I know that you've gone to win my war. You come back with the head of my enemy. You come back and you call it my victory. Your love becomes my greatest defense. It leads me from the dry wilderness. And all I did was praise. All I did was worship. All I did was bow down. And all I did was stay still. Specifically in Exodus 14, verses 13 and 14, in the Voice translation, it says, "Don't be afraid. Stand your ground and witness how the Eternal will rescue you today. Take a good look at the Egyptians, for after today you will never see them again. The Eternal will fight on your behalf while you watch in silence." And to be honest, I'm still sitting in this really uncomfortable arena of picking apart my faith bit by bit and piecing it back together slowly. But where is faith when I'm exhausted? As someone who's dealt with major depression for years, Right now I'm asking myself, where is God when my mental health was crumbling and is crumbling? And when the best option honestly feels like checking myself into a psych ward, or when this past season I sat across from my therapist and told her that I loved my life, but I wanted to die. How do I continue to love the Bible and accept it as the Word of God, living and active when I read stories of rape in the Old Testament, or of mass genocide, or violence, of racial oppression, or the seemingly backseat role women took that still seems to direct some of the churches that are alive and well in our society? What happens if I disagree with some of the things that I've been taught? Inhale. I bear the image of the one who comes. Exhale. Let my reflection be familiar to me. None of these questions are easy or comfortable to answer. Speaking them out loud feels like I am being deafened with silence. But in all transparency, there were seasons and times this year when I just wanted to walk away. A new buzzword I've noticed within the community of young adults who have grown up in the church was this concept of deconstructing faith. Taking the fundamentals that have been constructed by society and the church and breaking them down. Far too many of them deconstruct this and then desert. If I'm being honest, I wanted to be part of that circle too. However, I'm in the process of deconstructing it with the hope and the promise and the treasure of being able to put it back together stronger than ever. Rachel Held Evans, who was a beautiful author before she passed a couple years ago, phrased so well where I find myself now and where I want to continue finding myself. She says, imagine if every church became a place where everyone is safe, but no one is comfortable. Imagine if every church became a place where we told one another the truth. We might just create a sanctuary. I want to find myself in that sanctuary. I believe that St. Aidan's is that sanctuary for me. I believe that that's what has been cultivated with the leadership of Pastor Dave, the leadership of the church, and every single person who gathers here and has the courage to share their story. And to be honest, I still have difficult questions, but I no longer feel like an Israelite who hasn't crossed the Red Sea yet. Right now, I'm on a journey of walking through it, looking at the huge walls of water around me, just trusting that I will be carried and led through well. It's really uncomfortable to talk about something that I'm still in the midst of. It goes against every nature in me to not present something that is neatly wrapped up, something that is finished, finalized in the past, and talk about it as if that was where I am at. But to be honest, that's where I'm at. Then it's messy and it's gray and it's unfinished. But it's where God is with me right now. Inhale. Come to me, all who are weary. Exhale. And I will give you rest.